An economy, or economic system, is the structure that a society uses in an attempt to satisfy as many wants as possible. There are many different economic systems throughout the world, but they all have to address the same basic questions. All of these questions arise from the basic problem of opportunity cost. If you satisfy one want, you have to give up another. Many economies today could produce almost any good or service that they wanted to. But because resources are limited, they must decide what to produce, so that they use their resources in the most efficient way. Each society prioritizes its wants, satisfies the most urgent ones, and leaves the other wants unsatisfied. A society must decide how much of each thing it will produce. If a society produces too little food, people will go hungry. On the other hand, if the society produces too much food, resources will be wasted. These could have been used to satisfy other wants. The society must decide how it will produce goods and services. That is, how should land, labor, capital and enterprise be combined so that goods and services can be produced with the minimum opportunity cost. By making goods and services with minimum wastage of resources, the society will be able to satisfy more of its wants. Each economy in the world has a certain number of capital goods, which they use to make goods and services. Capital goods assist in the production of other goods. Because they wear out over time, a society must put some of its resources aside to replace them, just to maintain present production levels. This also means that if an economy wants to increase production in the future, it needs to increase the number of its capital goods. This process is called capital accumulation. Who receives the goods and services that the economy has produced? In mixed market economies, we use the price mechanism. So we distribute goods and services according to income. The greater a person's income, the more wants they are able to satisfy. In many economies, the government helps to redistribute wealth by using taxes to provide pensions or unemployment payments for people with low incomes. Governments may also provide free health care and education to ensure that these basic wants are satisfied. The main function of an economy is to combine resources to produce goods and services, and use these goods and services to satisfy wants. In a modern economy, there are many stages of production and many components used to produce even simple goods and services. Let's take bread as an example. The main ingredient of bread is wheat. So first of all, we need land to grow the wheat on. We have to plough the field, sow the wheat, fertilize it, spray it to protect it from insects, and then harvest it. At this stage, the entrepreneur is the farmer who combines the land, labor, and capital necessary to make the wheat. Then the wheat has to be transported to a mill, where it is ground into flour. The Flour is transported to the bakery, where it is mixed with water, yeast and salt to make dough. Then the dough is baked in ovens to make bread before the bread is sliced and packaged. The bread is transported to a warehouse, then to the supermarket. Finally, the consumer can buy it. Specialization occurs because baking bread is hard to do on your own. You'd have to know all about soil, wheat, insects, weather, harvesting methods, milling and baking. You'd also have to own the right equipment for each stage and be able to obtain the salt, water and yeast. It makes much more sense for different people to concentrate on individual stages of the production process. So the farmer specializes in growing the wheat only, while other people concentrate on the other stages. This has a few practical benefits. Firstly, people can choose to do things that they like or are good at. Also, by concentrating on only one area, people get skills and experience through repetition. So they become experts in their field and learn how to do their job the most efficient way. This means that the society as a whole is more productive. But with specialization comes interdependence. The farmer depends on the firms that make the machinery, pesticide and fertilizer, to name just a few. The mill is dependent on the farmer. If he doesn't grow any wheat, they can't make flour. If there's no flour, the bakery can't make bread. A highly specialized economy needs some sort of medium to exchange goods and services. This is where money comes in. Money has two important qualities. It is widely accepted and it provides a measure of relative value. This means that we can compare the value of totally different things like apples and cars using dollars and cents or pounds and pence. At each stage of bread production, employees and entrepreneurs are receiving money in exchange for their resources. Firms are receiving money for their goods and services. The production of bread provides income for everyone involved. Mixed market economies usually have 5 basic sectors. These are the household, firms, financial, government, and the overseas or foreign sectors. All of these sectors are interrelated. Decisions made in one sector will have an effect on the other sectors. We can see this by looking at a model of the circular flow of income. To start off, we'll look at the relationship between 2 sectors only, the household sector and the firms sector. The household sector refers to individuals. It is concerned with how they earn and dispose of their incomes so that they can satisfy their wants. The firms sector deals with business enterprises that produce and distribute goods and services in the hope of making a profit. We'll also assume that households spend all their income on goods and services. They do not save any of their income and they don't pay tax. Thirdly, the firms sell everything they make to households. There is no stock left over. In the 2-sector circular flow model, households provide resources, land, labor, capital and enterprise, to firms. In return, businesses pay the households for these resources in the form of money. Business firms use the resources to produce goods and services. They sell these goods and services to households, who pay for them with the money they received from selling their resources. Households and firms both have two functions. Households own productive resources and buy goods and services. Firms produce goods and services and buy resources. We can simplify our model even further by looking only at where the money is going. Imagine that this train carries the money from households to firms and vice versa. We'll call it the money train. You can see that the money goes round and round, from household to firms and back again, hence the circular flow. If we use money to measure the relative value of income, output and expenditure, an important economic principle becomes apparent. In our model, because households spend all of their income, income equals expenditure. And because firms sell all of their goods and services, or their output, to households, then output equals expenditure. So, income, output and expenditure are all equal. In reality, we know that households do not spend all of their income. Some of it is saved. And this is where the financial sector comes into play. The financial sector is made up of businesses that borrow and lend money and provide related services. They include organizations like banks, building societies and finance companies. When a household saves some of its income, it reduces expenditure, and money flows out of the circular flow. Savings are said to be a leakage from the circular flow. Because income, output and expenditure are equal, if expenditure is reduced, then so is output and income. If households continue to save part of their income, money will keep leaking out of the flow. This is known as the paradox of thrift. If everyone saves their money, eventually everyone will be worse off, because income and output will fall. But saving is necessary if we want to produce capital goods. And capital goods are necessary if we want to maintain current levels of production or increase them in the future. The production or purchase of capital goods is called investment. Capital goods are usually also expensive, and often firms have to borrow money to purchase them. They borrow the money from a financial institution. And this money, which has been saved by households, is injected back into the circular flow. When the amount of money flowing into the circular flow is equal to the money flowing out of it, the economy is said to be in equilibrium. So at this stage, the model is in equilibrium when savings equal investment.
Treatments per annum.
The government sector refers to federal, state and local governments. The main function of the government is to satisfy community wants by providing collective goods and services like roads, education and defence. Governments gather revenue through taxation. When households pay tax, they have less money to spend, and money leaks out of the circular flow. When businesses pay tax, they have less money to spend on resources, and once again it leaks out of the flow. When the government spends money, it is injected back into the flow. Government expenditure, like investment, is an injection. When the government pays public servants, it increases the amount of income in the economy, and hence the expenditure and output. If they commission private firms to carry out work, the firm uses the money to buy resources, and the level of income increases. In the four-sector model, there are two leakages from the circular flow: savings and taxation. There are also two injections: investment and government expenditure. As long as the amount of money flowing out of the economy is equal to the amount flowing in, the economy will be in equilibrium. So the economy is in equilibrium when savings plus taxation, the amount flowing out, is equal to investment plus government expenditure, the amount flowing in. When one economy starts trading with another one, it is said to be open. Imports are things we buy from other countries, and the money we pay goes to the firm who made them in the other country. So imports are a leakage from the flow. Exports, things we sell overseas, are an injection because the money to pay for them flows into our economy from the other country. So, in the five-sector model, the economy is in equilibrium when the total amount of money flowing out of the economy, savings plus taxation plus imports, is equal to the total amount of money flowing in, investment plus government expenditure plus exports. Economies are rarely in a state of equilibrium, and sometimes this can cause problems. Too much money flowing in can cause high inflation. To stop this, the government might raise taxes or cut government expenditure. In effect, they are taking money out of the circular flow. Too much money flowing out of the economy means that income, expenditure and output will all fall. During the Great Depression, which started in 1929 and continued for most of the 30s, people lost faith in industry and financial institutions. Banks at the time were not insured by the government, so if a bank went bankrupt, its customers lost their money. As a result, people hoarded their money, and income, expenditure and output fell around the world. This was a practical example of the paradox of thrift. In Germany, Adolf Hitler came to power in 1933 and immediately began spending money on massive projects like autobahns, the development of the Volkswagen, and the military. He dragged Germany out of the Depression by injecting huge amounts of money into the circular flow. In the USA, the president, Franklin Roosevelt, also spent money on public works, trying to inject money into the economy. He wasn't as successful as Hitler, but when the USA started building up its military machine for World War II, the money started to flow again, and the recession was over.